Okay, so for our first cartoon, we're going to do a very simple face. You need to draw very lightly when you do this. So lightly so that you can almost not even see the oval that we're going to draw here. Also, please make sure to cover the entire area. We're going to fill up this entire space. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, a regular piece of printer paper, folded in half. So, to begin with, imagine drawing an oval before you touch the paper. So I'm not touching the paper yet. I'm just slowly going to pull my hand down and get a nice oval shape. Draw it as lightly as you can. I'm going a little bit darker on this so that it shows on the video, but you want to draw this as lightly as you can. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to divide the head right down the middle, top to bottom, and then we're going to divide it into thirds this way. So we're going to draw a line there and another one here. And then halfway between this line and this line, we're going to cut that one in half again. In a cartoon, things are exaggerated. So we're going to draw really large eyes, and these are fairly simple cartoons from a cartoonist named Randy Glasbergen. I'll show you the book cover in a couple minutes. Also remember that these are cartoons, and cartoons are meant to be silly. They're meant to make you laugh. So we're going to do the pupils of the eyes in the center. Then for this particular character, we're going to kind of give it a big nose right in the center of these two lines here. Maybe just shift it up a little bit. Then we're going to go diagonal lines here for the eyebrows. We're going to do rather large ears. And notice that they're slightly tilted. So this one's tilted that way, this one's tilted that way. Randy Glasbergen doesn't usually do the inside of the ears, he just leaves them empty. But we're going to draw an oval here, and a diagonal line this way, and an oval here, and a diagonal line this way. Anything that you add to an original drawing, including this one, is called an embellishment. An embellishment is just a very big word that means details. So the details of adding the ears, again, is something that Randy Glasbergen did not have on his characters, but we're going to put on ours. For the mouth, I'm going to start right about halfway between the bottom of the nose and this line. And notice how it's offset, meaning that there's more space here than there is here. That's because this particular character has what's called an overbite, and that'll make more sense in a couple of minutes. For now, we're going to do a rectangle. And again, notice how it's sticking out over on this side. And then we're going to do a little U shape underneath the teeth. And then we're going to put two lines in like this for some really large teeth. The neck is just two lines going down like this. For his shirt, we're going to do an M shape. So I'm going to go up here, down there, up here, down there. And then for the lapels, I'm going to do a curved line like this. For his shoulders, I'm just going to draw two lines going down like this. The hair is actually just about 7 lines, and one of the hairs actually just is the shape of his head. So right here in the very middle, I'm going to draw a long, sweeping, curved line like this. I'm going to draw another one right along the side of his head here. I'm going to do another one going like this. And then I'm going to have one sticking up here and one sticking up there. Notice that they're different lengths. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side by doing a couple of long sweeping hairs like this. At this point, we've got all of the pieces we need. So now I'm going to start pressing the pencil down a little bit harder so that I can get a finished line. All of the light lines that we used to draw this initially, to draw the shapes, are called construction lines. So the construction lines just help to define the character or the shapes of the character, but the final lines or the finished lines are drawn in heavier. And again, I'm just leaning on the pencil a little bit more, and in some instances or some cases, I'm doubling up on the thickness of the line. This part could also be done with a marker, and I may go over it with a marker just so that you can see what I'm talking about. The other interesting thing about cartooning is your eye is going to follow the face around, so you don't necessarily have to draw this part in. If you want to, just draw a line like this and leave a little break right here. For the eyebrows, I'm simply going to draw two lines like this. I'm going to continue with the head, stopping over here where the ear meets the head, and then drawing around. Then I'm going to draw the inside of the ear, and then continue drawing all the way around. Again, just pressing down a little bit harder so that I get a nice dark line. So you can see the difference between the construction lines and the final lines. In old school cartooning, back when they were still taking photographs of the artwork to send to the printer, all of your construction lines would have been drawn in blue. And sometimes if you look at step-by-step drawing books, you'll see the original construction done in blue, and then it's inked right over the top of that, and that's because the blue pencil was called a non-photo reproducing pencil. And so when they photographed the artwork with the black and white camera, the blue pencil lines would not show up. And some cartoonists still use that. So I'm going to go ahead and go around the eyes. The nose, I'm not going to go all the way around, but I'm going to start right about here. Just go around like that. The teeth, again, stick out a little bit. And his overbite makes him look like he has buck teeth. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line like this back up towards his nose. Draw in the mouth, and you can fill the mouth in with shading like this. Draw the neck, and then draw the lapels of his shirt and his shoulders. And then I'm going to treat the shirt collar the same way that I treated his mouth, just by doing a series of diagonal lines. So that's what the finished cartoon looks like. If I were doing this for publication, I would probably do the ink lines in ink and then erase these lines. But I'm not going to do that for our purposes. For our purposes, this is the one that you need to take a picture of and then share that on your website. The next thing we're going to do for this cartoon is we're going to draw this same character, but from a side view. It's also called a profile. It's best to do the front view and the side view at the same time so that you can get the proportions and the placement of the objects in the same place. One of the mistakes that a lot of cartoonists who are first starting out have or do is that they don't make the shape of the face or the shape of the head the same size and the same shape. Sometimes they want to make it skinnier from the side. But we're going to try and keep the proportions, that is to say the height to the width, the same on these two drawings. So I've got the height maybe a little bit further down here. Again, I'm drawing very lightly on the construction. Then I'm going to divide it again, top to bottom, and side to side. I'm going to do just one eye because he's looking that way. Then I'm going to do his nose here. So beginning with the eye, again, try to get it about the same size. You may have to go a couple of times around to get the shape right. Put the pupil in here. The nose is about this tall here, and it goes just under this line. So I'm going to do the nose like this. And again, it's just an oval, but it's not going to end up like an oval. Mouth goes about here. Bottom of the mouth goes here, and the teeth are about here. I'm going to put the ears behind this center line. A little bit of exaggeration going on, and I'm also going to angle it similar to the way I angled this one. Then I'm going to do the oval on the inside and the little line that defines the inside of the ear. The eyebrow, same position. The neck is also in the same position, but it's angled slightly. So I'm going to angle the neck like this. Almost looks like the letter Q in the alphabet. And then his collar is actually going to go down like this and make it a triangle again. And instead of going out like this for the shoulders, I'm going to curve it, come down for where his neck is, and then curve it around like this. And then make it almost go straight down at the bottom here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding the hair, but rather than adding it from the middle here, I'm going to add it from the front. So I'm going to do that big sweeping line like this. Again, one of the hairs is going to go here. I'm going to split this area a couple of times. And then I'm also going to do that hair and this one coming off the front. For the teeth, I want it to stick out because he has what's called an overbite. So I'm going to exaggerate this and bring it all the way back to about here. And we're not going to do the entire area like this, but we're going to cut it off just a little bit like this. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to extend the chin just a little bit to account for this space here. So just like before, we're going to now apply a little more pressure. But this time, I'm going to do the nose, and actually I went a little bit high on the nose. I'm going to start about right here. And I'm just going to come around and stop right where the face is. Draw from his nose to his forehead. Draw the eyebrow. Draw the eyes. And one other thing I forgot on the eyes. This particular artist just does black dots for eyes. But one embellishment that I like to do is I like to darken it in, but then leave a little white at the top. And that gives it what's called a highlight. And you've seen it in a lot of different cartoons. So I'm going to go ahead and draw around the eye. Remember, when you draw the ear, you're not going to go all the way around, but you're going to make it look like a backwards C, and then put this part in here, which actually almost looks like the letter J. I'm going to go from the tip of the nose right to the front of his mouth, where his teeth are. And then I'm just going to slowly come around and draw all these shapes. This is a heavily stylized cartoon. It's very simple looking, but even in a simple looking cartoon, there's a lot of structure to it. And the reason that cartoonists draw the construction lines, especially when they're first designing characters, is for consistency. So again, I'm going to do the shirt, do the diagonal lines for the collar. I think I called it a lapel earlier, but it's actually the collar. And then again, I'm going to put the hair in. And notice how I'm starting and stopping the line. Artists take a lot of license in designing their characters. And there's a lot of things that you can do to sort of cheat a little bit to make it look very simple, but still have all the structure in there. So that's the side view. Next, we're going to draw a female on the next video. Notice also, and this is primarily for my students, I don't want you to erase the lines. Try to get in the habit of leaving all of your construction lines on your initial drawings. When we get to the point where we're doing finished drawings, we'll worry about erasing because we're actually going to trace these on another sheet of paper. But for now, just like the math teacher who wants to see your work, I want to see your work and I want to see how you constructed this so that you followed the steps. And if you erase, I won't be able to do that. So the next thing we're going to do is draw a female cartoon in the same style. We're going to change a few of the features, but we're going to start off the same way. And I've got this one as a side-by-side comparison. So we're going to draw the same oval, about the same size. And the only thing that's different on the female are some more embellishments. So again, got an oval shape. Divide it down the middle. Divide the top to bottom in 3 areas. I'm going to go ahead and put the neck in. For the most part, the features on a female are smaller. So the nose is going to be smaller, the ears are going to be smaller. The eyes, in some cases, might be bigger. But I'm going to go ahead and do them about the same size. I'm also going to curve the eyebrows. I'm still going to draw the pupils in the center. But the nose I'm going to do much smaller and a little bit higher. For the mouth, I'm going to start off with a straight line, but then curve it up just a little bit on the edges. And then the other main feature on this female is that I'm going to put an M shape on the top of her mouth for lips, and also a bottom lip down here. I'm still going to draw a line in the center for her teeth. And again, her ears are going to be smaller. And one of the ways that we distinguish, for the most part, a generic teenage boy from a generic teenage girl is that we add things like jewelry. Now, I know what you're thinking. Some boys wear jewelry too, and that's fine. But in cartooning, we do a lot of what's called a stereotype. A stereotype is an example or a perfect example and sometimes an exaggeration of an example. Because in cartooning, you want your audience to identify quickly whether it's a male or a female. Sometimes you can add features to show race and other gender possibilities. But the generic male and female, larger lips on the female usually. One other thing that distinguishes them is eyebrows and eyelashes. The eyebrows are always curved, usually thinner. Sometimes I'll do a thicker eyebrow on the male characters. Then again, remember, for the ears, we're going to do an oval inside the oval of the ear, and then draw a little line diagonally for that part, for the upper part of the ear. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to add a string of pearls around her neck. And again, this is a total stereotype because guys could also wear necklaces. This particular necklace is a pearl necklace. I don't know if I've ever seen a guy wear a pearl necklace, but I have seen puka shells. In fact, when I was in high school, we wore puka shells. If that's not dating me, I don't know what is. We didn't even live near the beach. So, the other thing is square shoulders versus round shoulders. You can also elongate the hair. So we're going to go huge sweeping motion on the hair. And also, if you want to stick one hair up like that, just again because it's a cartoon. This time I'm going to start the part down from the head, from the center, and do some hair like this coming off, just to give it a sort of style. And then the other thing I'm going to do is starting up here, I'm going to do some longer hair. And again, hairstyles are going to vary. The hair could be wavy, it could be straight, it could be curled, it could be kinky. There's all kinds of variations, and that's basically what makes the difference in cartoons, how you distinguish one character from another. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the eyes and work my way out, remembering to darken in except for that little tiny spot at the top to give it a highlight. And once again, please don't erase your construction lines, speaking specifically to my students. I want to see your work, and I want to see how you laid things out, just in case there's a way that I can figure out where you might have gone wrong on a cartoon. One of the biggest things that students often do is they don't use the entire paper like I'm asking here. This is an 8.5 by a 5.5, 5.5 wide, 8.5 tall, because I folded a regular sheet of paper in half. So then I'm going to go around the eyes, just applying a little more pressure. I'm going to do the eyelashes. And the eyebrows. And then just like on the male character, I'm only going to draw the bottom of the nose. Then do the lips with the mouth and the teeth. And one thing that this also distinguishes, a lot of times for a female character, I don't do lines on the teeth. This one's specifically and deliberately goofy looking. But for females, you don't want them to necessarily always look goofy. You want to try and make them look as pretty as possible. Since the earrings are in front of the ears, or on the front of the ears, I'm going to draw the earring first, and then draw the ear and the inside of the ear on both sides. Then I'm going to take it up from the ear to where the hairline is, and notice the overlap here. I brought it down a little bit further so that it doesn't just stop here where the ear meets the side of the head. Then I'm going to bring it from the bottom of the earring around, do the neck, draw the pearls, draw the shoulders, and then work on the hair. And I'm kind of treating this the same way as the first one. You can either leave all of the parts out, or you can put little lines in here to define the head. Entirely up to you. This young woman has mostly straight hair with a slight wave to it, and her part isn't exactly in the middle of her head. One of the things that Randy Glasbergen is known for is what's called economy of line. And what that means is, with as few lines as possible, his characters are defined. And I'll show you some more examples of them as we continue to draw in his style. So that's the female from the front. The next video, we're going to do the female from the side. So for the next video, we are going to do the same character. We've got two front views, and we've got one side view for the male. So now we're going to do the side view for the female. So for the side view for the female, I folded up another sheet of paper. This might be in your sketchbook, or it might just be on a piece of paper that you're keeping in your portfolio here at school. So we're going to start the same way, starting with an oval. Notice again that I'm practicing where I'm going to draw first before I start drawing the oval, committing the line to the face, to the page. And again, I'm trying to get it exactly or close enough to the same size as possible. Once again, using my example here, I'm going to divide it up this way and also down the middle. Just looking for the other. This is the male from the side and the front. So this is going to female from the side, since we already have the front. So once again, I like to start with the eye, do it really large. Try and get it in the same area, top to bottom. The nose, remember, is a lot smaller than the male's. So I'm just going to do a little nose here. Try and get it about the same place. Maybe a little flatter here on the top. The ear, again, is smaller. I'm going to angle it back slightly. And then also do the oval on the inside and the diagonal line for the top of the ear, the inside, and also the earring. And just like the male, the neck is in the middle, but I'm going to angle it because it's actually more towards the back of the head. Once again, I'm also going to do the pupil about the same size here. The middle of the mouth is about here. And once again, I'm going to angle it up and also do that M shape on the top. Then do the bottom part of the mouth and the teeth. And once again, remember that the female characteristics are a little bit smaller than the male's. I'm going to change the shape of the lip just a bit here. Not going to erase it. I'm just going to draw a little bit lighter when I do the final lines. And then I'm also going to do the bottom lip here. Eyebrow. Pearls around the neck. When you have them side to side like this, you can also compare the pearls, for instance. I went a little bit large on these, but that's okay. I'm going to also angle and curve the back, and then just curve the front down like this. Then the hair, since on this side of the head, since she's facing that way, actually starts a little bit past her head. So I'm going to go a little bit past her head this way too. And just do a series of lines. You don't have to draw every line. You just want to get a feel for where the lines are. Then again, the long part of her hair in the back. Just curving it down. And now I'm ready to start doing the final. I'm going to start with the ear. But before I do that, I want this one hair to cover the front of her ear, the top of her ear here. I'm going to come around like that, stop where the earring is, draw the pearl earring, draw the top of the inside of her ear, do the eye, remembering to leave the little highlight on top, draw around the eye, and I just noticed something that I forgot, which is the eyelashes. The nose, instead of doing this round part, I'm going to go straight out the same way I did for the male nose. And then I'm going to come down and watch how it curves here. Lost my lights for a second there. Wasn't a blackout. I'm at school and the lights turn off automatically. So do the rectangle for the teeth. I'm going to draw the top of the lip here. And I'm going to break my own rule in just a second because I changed the way I did the mouth. I am going to erase. But you know what? I changed my mind. I told you not to erase, so I'm not going to erase either. But what I am going to do is I'm going to darken in her lipstick like this. And since I'm doing it there, I'm also going to darken it in the bottom. The inside of her mouth then should be a little bit darker than her lips. Then I'm going to bring her chin down to her neck, do the neck, back up to the back of her head, and then draw the pearls. I don't always draw everything exactly the same, in the same order every single time. But as long as I have my guidelines, it's not completely necessary. So for instance, see I'm jumping around a little bit instead of going in some sort of order. Do the hair. Remember the economy of line that Glasbergen is so famous for. You can communicate the same idea with a relatively few number of lines. Put a piece sticking up there, and also one sticking down there. And that's the side view, or a side view. Not completely satisfied with the way this character looks. But as I mentioned in class all the time, you probably get tired of hearing me say it, the way that you get better is through repetition. And so I may try and draw this a couple of times, not liking the way the nose turned out. Once you have all the features though, and you understand the process of how it's built, you can draw it a couple of times to get it better, more right. One of the things I think I'll probably do is move the nose and the eye down a little bit. When you want to make someone look younger, generally speaking, the eyes and the nose are closer to the bottom of the chin or closer to the mouth. Everything's sort of scrunched down this way with a larger forehead. So this girl actually looks a little bit older than this one, in my opinion. Yep, forgot the eyebrow. And probably should use a few more hair in here. So that's the front and side view of a female cartoon.